The injury bug is just ravaging through the locker room in San Francisco. The Niners started the season with star running back CMC on IR, and then again, they lose McCaffrey for the season's final 5 games. Doesn't stop there. There's been a lot of other injuries as well in San Francisco. You can see on the screen, Christian McCaffrey wrote a lengthy post about his season, and it said in part, "This wasn't my year, and sometimes when it rains, it pours. You can feel sorry for yourself and listen to the birds, or you can hold the line. I'm grateful for the support of everyone in my corner and promise I'll work smarter and harder than ever to come back better from this. I love my teammates, I love the Niners, and I love football. God doesn't miss. Onward." Brock Purdy will be heading into the last year of his 4-year contract. I didn't even get to all the injuries, but we understand that there's a lot for the 49ers right now. So now we have to look ahead. Canty, would you pay Brock Purdy top-tier money?
Not this offseason. I wouldn't. I need to see more from Brock Purdy, and it's not an instance where I don't think he's capable. It's just that I haven't seen him elevate the play of everyone around him. In a lot of ways, Brock Purdy has been like a mirror reflecting the talent that's around him. And when he doesn't have Trent Williams in the lineup, when he doesn't have Christian McCaffrey in the lineup, when he doesn't have Deebo Samuel, when he doesn't have George Kittle, when he doesn't have Brandon Ayuk, you're getting a different version of Brock Purdy. In the 27 games when he's had Christian McCaffrey in the backfield, Brock Purdy's got 47 touchdowns to 16 interceptions and a 109 rating. In the 9 games where Christian McCaffrey is out, when he hasn't had him, he's got a losing record, 10 touchdowns to 7 interceptions and a 93 rating. So I am looking at the situation that the 49ers are in now, given where a lot of the core of this team is headed from an age and contract-wise, and I need to be able to have more proof of concept that Brock Purdy can be a force multiplier rather than a passenger on a supremely talented roster.
Go ahead.
What you need another year of what? Him playing top 5 quarterback football?
Yeah, when he's got top 5. First of all, when we start looking at the all-pro players that were around Brock Purdy, the guy had 5 all-pro players just on the offensive side of the ball alone last year, Dan.
Okay,
You're not going to always be able to have that when you've got to pay your quarterback
$55,
$60 million a year. And that's the size of the commitment that we're talking about the Niners making. So I want to see more proof of concept. And it's unfortunate that the Niners have had the injury luck that they've been dealt this year. But I do think the silver lining in it all is seeing exactly what you have in Brock Purdy in terms of being a guy that can make players better when it's next man up.
Okay, so I think that's absolutely outrageous to say personally. Okay, so in the last 36 games, that's a pretty decent size proof of concept, okay? The only quarterback that's played better QBR-wise is Josh Allen, okay? That has to matter for something. When it comes to the last... What?
I mean, listen. You're not going to have the same version of Christian McCaffrey that he's enjoyed the first 2 years he was a starter.
Okay, the second
you're not
thing I'm
going
going
to
to
get the same version of George
In the
Kittle.
last 36 games, the only 2 teams that have scored more than San Francisco are Buffalo and Detroit. The quarterback has to be a part of that conversation. We've got to stop taking these quarterbacks and going, well, I don't want to pay you that much money because you're not Josh, or you're not Lamar, or you're not Patrick, or Joe. There's only 3 or 4 of them that we can unequivocally say duh about, okay?
Okay.
There has to be a next grouping that isn't this extreme fall off, all right? There's not this extreme that we say, well, Josh Allen I know is a force multiplier, but there would be no negotiation tactic. When you're Josh Allen's reps and Patrick, you'd be like, well, you're going to pay me whatever the heck I want, okay? Yeah. When it comes to Brock Purdy, we have to talk about these quarterbacks and saying, okay, Brock, if we don't have some of our pieces, not all of our pieces, because every quarterback needs help. Why do you think the Houston Texans went and got a player like Stephon Diggs this offseason? Why do you think the Buffalo Bills went and traded for a player like... Because the
Chiefs traded for DeAndre Hopkins.
So they
I get what you're saying, yeah.
Okay, so if you don't have all of us, maybe not, but some of us, what are you? Brock Purdy proved that this year. In the beginning of the season, when they were down with some pieces, he was playing his best ball at the beginning of the season.
He didn't prove it against the Arizona Cardinals at home.
Mina, get in
He
on
did
this.
not prove it against the Arizona Cardinals at home. Did you watch that game?
Did you see Kyler Murray go off in that game?
Yeah, I saw that. I also saw the turnovers from Brock Purdy.
Chris.
Oh, my gosh. Come on, man.
Mina, get in.
Chris, I would love to put together a super cut of moments where Dan said a quarterback shouldn't get paid top quarterback money because it would last 0 seconds. I have never heard him make that argument on this show. Dan, here's the thing. What you're saying, which is we shouldn't hold these quarterbacks to the same standard. Like, we shouldn't say it shouldn't be all or nothing, right? You shouldn't be a Josh or a Patrick or a nothing. What you're saying is how the NFL does treat quarterbacks, which is they pay them at that top rate or almost there's a massive drop-off to the middle class. There are very few quarterbacks who are paid at a level below that, right? I would actually say the Jimmy G contract from a few years ago would be ideal for Brock Purdy because it was a reasonable contract. It wasn't a incredibly long-term commitment. The problem is teams don't give contracts like that. When I say long-term commitment, it was a huge contract. My point is, the way the NFL approaches this position is all or nothing. It is you're getting paid at a top 5 rate or almost nothing else. What kind of contract do you think Brock Purdy is realistically going to get?
Tua.
Here? So he's going to be paid. First of all, he's going to walk in and say, "Give me a dollar figure that starts with a 6." I really believe that. I truly do. So we're talking about top quarterback money. But let me make my point about Brock Purdy generally. Rather than quibbling about 55 or 60 or whatever, I think Brock Purdy's played really well. I do. And I think that for the most part, that really good play has come with a decent amount of talent. And Chris is correct in pointing out that when you start taking out that talent, his performance has dipped. It's fair. The thing is, what you are seeing right now as a San Francisco 49ers fan, the product you are seeing on the field, right? This team where there has been such an attrition of talent, if you give Brock Purdy that gigantic contract, that's what it's going to look like moving forward, right? Like what you are seeing in this moment is a lot closer to what you will see in the future as a Niners fan. If you pay him that way, they're going to start having to cut players on defense. They're going to have to start leaning on young draft players like Ricky Pearsall, Isaac Guerrero are playing this weekend. So it is actually a difficult decision for the San Francisco 49ers because the reason they have been so dominant roster-wise has been because he has been on this cheap contract. And if you choose to pay him, it's going to look a lot more like what we're seeing right now. Do you let's concede to that?
Not even.
Yes,
still,
I would agree with that. I'm not sitting here telling everybody that, in my opinion, we're paying Brock Purdy whatever you name the number type of
Dak
contract.
Prescott contract or
I would. That's a whole different conversation.
Well, I'm just saying that because he's the highest paid player
correct.
in the league.
I'm not sitting here saying that those top 4 or 5 guys, when it comes to the Josh, the Joes, the Lamar, Patrick, and I'm thinking of someone else. Top 5 guys. I do think he's in that Tua conversation. I do think, and I believe that Tua proved the value of to his performance to what he becomes. Everyone was saying that about Tua too. Can you pay him? Jalen Waddle, Tyreek Hill, Mike McDaniel. You saw the value of that. I'm not sitting here saying maybe top quarterback money. We've got a lot of top quarterbacks, so it's not maybe top 5, but I do think you're sitting there saying top 12 money, top 10 money, no question.
Yeah, I guess my question to you is, Dan, what's the hurry to pay him? Because even though he's contract eligible after his 3rd season, it doesn't mean that you have to pay him in the next offseason.
Well, because if you believe in him, and if you've watched over the last 3 seasons him perform the way that he's performed, what else is there not to believe in? Like, if you're saying, okay, if we have a depleted...
We've taken what I'm saying is we've taken all of these pieces out due to injury. It's unfortunate, but it happened.
But you got to rebuild a new window.
I agree with you. My question is, while you're rebuilding with that new window, can you afford to have Brock Purdy making what he's making and your team still be competitive? That's what it comes down to. Because you can pay him and have the long-term commitment, and we know a quarterback's shelf life is going to be longer than anybody else's. The question is, what does the rebuild or the retool look like when you're paying Brock Purdy upwards of $55 million a year? I guess my whole point is there is no harm in waiting and finishing out his rookie contract, knowing that you have the franchise tag in your back pocket as a negotiating tool to push back from what he's asking for when it comes to the top of the market 2 years from now.
And I think what Chris is also saying is when you're committing to paying, it's not just do we believe in the player, because he has been really, really good for them. Do I believe in this player's ability to lift up the talent around him such that when we do pay him and we are hamstrung, because that's what's going to happen, right? That's why I keep saying this roster is going to look a lot more like it does right now. Do we believe he can lift up everyone around him? Because that is what he is going to have to be going forward if this team is actually going to be a serious contender.
There's only 5 guys like that on planet Earth. So if you don't have one of them, every team could ask themselves that conversation. You don't have one. So does that mean you pay nobody who's really good? That there's still really good players at that position in this league that are going to command a decent amount of cash. I do think there's a penalty if you wait, because then you're the Dallas Cowboys. Yeah. And then you're constantly sitting there going, oh, what do we do? And the player has all the leverage, and you have no choice.
I mean, during the life of the Dak Prescott contract, they had a 3-year streak where they won 36 games.
That's what the San Francisco 49ers have done.
But they're not paying Brock Purdy the top of the market contract.
You have to pay $1 more than the last guy got paid, essentially, the longer you wait.
First deal was the highest paid player in the league.